Jurgen Klopp, number one. He is as important to Liverpool as Sir Alex Ferguson was to Manchester United. I agree with that. What do you say?
Yep, I agree completely. Listen up, fat Man United fans. Klopp is important to Liverpool as Ferguson is important to United. There's no denying what Sir Alex Ferguson, MD, did for Manchester United in the 90s, the legacy, and his shadow continuing to influence any manager that takes over after that. But that's exactly, in terms of identity, what he has done for Liverpool, has Jurgen Klopp done for that club as well. The Champions League, the FA Cup, the Premier League, at an era, by the way, where he had to compete against the super teams in the likes of Manchester City and Pep Guardiola as well. It's a remarkable thing what Jurgen Klopp has done. I've said it a few weeks ago and I'll say it again. Obviously, there are names that are going to be replacing this person. Somebody has to do it. But for a manager to come in and do what Jurgen Klopp did, to not just like enliven that squad and giving them an identity, but the community, the fan base, the entire city, the entire red side of Merseyside, what he has done for that club is just as important as what Ferguson's did for Manchester United. I agree. True.
Yeah. Part of the fabric. Has he been there as long? No. Has he had to change as many squads as Sir Alex did? No. But he's been such an integral part, and we'll see, like Manchester United fans saw when Sir Alex left, how difficult it is to replace an icon of a football club. Next one, number 2, 24 goals conceded, best in the league, Premier League for Arsenal. That, for me, makes Gabriel and William Saliba as the division's best defensive pairing. And if you go back to the first couple of games of the season, Gabriel didn't even start those. He was on the bench. Name a better defensive pairing in the Premier League if you disagree.
No, I can't. I agree with you. They are the best pairing in the Premier League by a mile, by the way. Not just because of how much they have played together 24 times, but I believe that per statistics, Arsenal now allows 0.76 goals per match, which is some of the best numbers that they've given in the last few seasons because of that partnership. I love this partnership because one of them is like very smooth on the ball, sees the game, dancer-esque. And the other one is a warrior who just like go at you whenever he can, in your face. When you're attacking corners, he will try and get there. And that's the Saliba and Gabriel partnership. I agree with you. I think it's the best partnership in the Premier League by a mile.
I was looking at some of the others, and I really like Van de Ven at Spurs with yep. Romero. But
good acquisition.
Romero's an earthquake waiting to happen, and we've already had one today. But again, just a good defender. But look how many goals they've conceded this season, 44. Newcastle last season, Fabian Schär playing alongside Sven Botman. And then Lascelles could come in as well if one of them was hurt. But this season, they've really missed Nick Pope, and defensively, they've been all over the place. So yeah, we'll go for that as the central defensive number 1 pairing in the Premier League, Saliba and Gabriel. Number 3 in this one. Phil Foden is ready to take Kevin De Bruyne's starting position as that central 10. I think that Phil Foden comes into his own, and we saw that at the start of the season when Kevin De Bruyne was out. How do you therefore fit both Phil Foden centrally and Kevin De Bruyne centrally? I think it's very difficult. So, of course, he's ready to take on Kevin De Bruyne's position. But are you allowing that because you're going to get rid of Kevin De Bruyne? No. So you've got to come up with a way. And it's working all right just now. But how do you fit them both in? Is Phil Foden ready to take Kevin De Bruyne's starting central position?
No, not right now. I mean, listen, like, yes, Kevin De Bruyne, including the injury that he suffered this season, has not been the same. He came back in a little bit of that spark, and then he kind of has slowed down a little bit. Clearly, at 33 years old, he's not the player that he was 4 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, even 2 seasons ago. And yes, Phil Foden is up there in player of the season in any club. But when Kevin De Bruyne is healthy, full on, 100%, this season, you can't leave him out in big games. And I think that's the conundrum that Pep Guardiola has. What a great headache he has. Where do I place each one? And yes, we have seen Phil Foden act more aggressively or be more creatively in that central spot. But you have to put De Bruyne in the middle, specifically in those big games, and then allow Phil Foden to maybe ease himself in. Because if you watch Phil Foden in a game, MD, even if he goes right, very naturally, instinctively, he just comes centrally. And De Bruyne fits within that. Now, in the future, is that going to be the solution? Who knows? Probably. But Kevin De Bruyne healthy this season, you got to start him. You just got to find a way to fit both of them. I think it's at the expense of Julian Alvarez, to be honest with you, at this point.
And that's the key. There's no way you're not playing both of them right now. You make it work. If you're playing Foden to one side, he's not too bad, that young kid. And it'll be interesting to see what England do, because they've got a plethora of middle to front attacking options at the Euros in the summer. Number 4 in our True or False Premier League Friday version. Roberto Di Zerbi is not ready to manage a top 4 team in the Premier League. Utter nonsense. Bunkum. I remember commentating on him when he was at Sassuolo. Loved the way he played. On the deck, there were goals that were scored that started off with the goalkeeper, and then they moved to the defender, and then within 10 seconds, the ball's in the back of the net, up the other end. He is desperate to play with better players, and I want him to stay at Brighton right now. But if he had these better players that could do this as well, are you trying to tell me he's not good enough for a Manchester City, for a Liverpool, for a Manchester United, an Arsenal, or a Chelsea, or a Spurs, or an Aston Villa? He would be perfect for a team like Liverpool, or a side that wants to get the ball down and play. So is he good enough for a top 4 side? Of course he's good enough for a top 4 side, just not yet.
I think this is ridiculous to even question this. Like, people need to understand, just like you said, like, he has been managing clubs that have needed to get every single ounce of his managerial prowess to get them to where they are. Yes, Brighton are a very well-run club, and they also know their limitations, right? But Roberto De Zerbi is a tremendous manager who, just like you said, you put him in a top 4, a top 5 club, and my goodness, the things that he could do. Like, that's why reportedly he's being looked at by Liverpool. It might not happen, but he is that good. You just got to give him the plethora, the menu for him to apply. So is he the greatest manager? Is he the complete product, like you said? No, he will keep going there. By the way, when Miguel Arteta first entered Arsenal, like, he was questioned to be sacked after 7 months, right? Like, people keep questioning certain managers about their qualities and if they're good enough for that team. Roberto De Zerbi is a tremendous tactician. I would love to see him in the top 4 team. Obviously, there's going to be bumps along the road, but he's that good of a manager, and he deserves an opportunity if it ever comes.
There's an element of snobbery in English football. Yeah. He's not good enough to be a top 4 manager, but he's one of the favourites to take over at Bayern Munich. Yeah, just calm your jets. This is a kid that's destined for the top as a coach, Roberto Di Zerbi. But for Brighton fans, I hope he's able to do that with them and enjoy these European runs and get back next season. And we'll see.
You think he's staying?
Where that goes. I don't know because, look, I love what he's done at Brighton. I loved what he did at Sassuolo. He wasn't great at Shakhtar, but everybody's got a team. If Bayern came calling, I think
he'll listen.
Of course he'd listen. Now, we've seen with Xabi Alonso, might have had options. He stayed put. Could he be at Brighton next season? Of course he could.
Yeah, I think my only thing about him, MD, is that he's the kind of manager that really needs to enter an environment that completely supports him. And I mean in the bad and the good, because I think that there's an Antonio Conte-ish thing about him, right? Where, like, he needs to make sure that he's entering an environment that say, Roberto, this is, what are we doing? We're going to be here all the way. The moment he sees friction, that's when things can get tricky. So it's important for him to choose the right project. But I'm with you. Stay at Brighton. Keep building something special.
The last one for Friday's True or False. I like this one. Manchester City made a big mistake in selling Cole Palmer. Nonsense. How, if we have just spoken about trying to fit Kevin De Bruyne centrally, Phil Foden in there,
where is he going to go?
Where are you going to put Cole Palmer in there as well? All that would have done, and I've been watching the Manchester City documentary on Netflix, and Palmer's in the changing room during the treble season, and he did great when he was called upon. But all you're doing is stifling the ability of a player who's ready to explode, and we've seen that this season. That is a nonsense. Manchester City did a good bit of business. Now, if it was on the continent, they might have done some deal okay, we'll give you him for this amount of money, but we've got the buyback clause at this amount of money. I don't know what the particulars are of the deal, but what I do think is that Cole Palmer had to get out of Manchester City if he wanted to play and be the focal point of a team like Chelsea. What do you think?
Yes, I completely agree. This is going to be a boring show because we're in agreement in every single one, this one. But I'm totally in agreement with this one. Listen, here's a few things. Number one, the thing that you said. Manchester City is the one team that can afford to really allow to do this. Number two, the reason why you're seeing Cole Palmer be so effective this season, aside from the fact that he's a wonderful football player, is because he's in a team that really needs somebody like Cole Palmer, right? Success often comes out of necessity. You watch Cole Palmer for Chelsea, and he does 3 positions in the space of 20 minutes. He wouldn't do that for Manchester City. He's not even allowed to do that. Pep Guardiola doesn't allow anybody to do that. So there is no way that he could have done what he's doing with Chelsea with Manchester City. Because like you said, there's a Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez. They spent a lot of money on him. Erling Haaland dominates a lot of that spatial awareness in the final third. But for Chelsea, Cole Palmer is the deliverer, the creator, and the brain. And he goes almost everywhere. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. So this was a win for everybody. I mean, the only loser right now is Chelsea because they, like, the entire team need to do what Cole Palmer is doing. So no, Man City don't need him. And he's shining because he's in a team that Chelsea that really needs all his assets.